Hello today from my home office. So, I did have a film session scheduled for the next month. If you didn't know, or if you wondered how things worked around the channel, what I typically do is once a month I go into the studio to meet with my producer Zeke and film a month's worth of content. And that was scheduled for today. But you know what? I wasn't feeling completely like my best. And I wasn't sure I would be able to have enough voice to actually record like the entire batch of videos that I have ready. And let me tell you, we have some really amazing videos coming up. But what I did have was enough in me to get one video out to share for today. And what I wanted to kind of start with was just touching on some of the economic uncertainty that we were seeing around the market. So, if you are seeing a little bit of the latest news headlines and wondering how the heck we're going to rise to the occasion in economic uncertainty in 2025, yay us, then stick with it. We're going to walk about how we're going to navigate the upcoming possible, likely economic recession in real estate. And hey, if you stay to the end of this video, I am going to share a really calm, confident script that you can use with your clients to help explain how most recessions don't always negatively impact the housing markets and ways that you can kind of calm any fears they may have. So stick to the end for that script. So, obviously, there is a lot going on in the world. And if you're feeling unsure or uncertain of how that's going to affect real estate, you're definitely not alone. This is a lot of the questions that I'm hearing on the coaching calls as well in the Market Authority Academy. But here's what I do know: when things feel uncertain, the agents who win are not the ones who panic, they're the ones who stick with the plan. And what I'd actually like to kick off this super casual video with is kind of a little bit of a prompt for you. I want you to take a minute, maybe even pause this video if you need to, and sit and think with this for just a moment. If the economy got harder tomorrow, which system in your real estate business would fail first? Think about that just for a moment. And again, if you need to, pause the video, really wrap your head around this. And what should you be fixing now to be ready? In the Market Authority Academy, we focus on three core systems for every real estate business. Those systems are number one, our growth system. So, how are we consistently bringing in new leads and marketing our business? The second system that we focus on is our client journey. We think of it as the $1 million client journey. It's all the workflows that happen before, during, and after the transaction to make sure our clients are treated like $1 million and that every new client becomes a client for life and sends us referrals for life. The third system that we focus on is time and task management, because once we know where our leads are coming from and we know our marketing is happening consistently, and then we know that our client workflows are streamlined and working really well, then time and task management is really just as simple as making sure that we have the right schedules and routines in place to get the right stuff done at the right times. So, my question for you again is, which of those systems would fail first if the economy got harder today? There are a lot of really big news headlines that are happening, and obviously a lot of things just in the world that are occurring at this moment that can have a lot of real estate agents second guessing themselves or navigating a lot of uncertainty on behalf of their clients. Even if you might feel pretty solid with your business and pretty solid with the market, and that real estate agents can more or less weather most market shifts, which I tend to agree with, your clients probably have a lot of uncertainty and doubt, at least, that they're bringing to you. So, what I want to talk about is a couple of things that you can remember, maybe a couple of scripts that you can lean on, and just some rules of thumb to get us through the next couple of years if these shaky economic times continue. Okay, so let's talk about what we're seeing. If there's a lot of stickiness in the trade wars and the tariffs and all of that stuff going on, that can mean a couple of different things. But the first thing that I do want you to think of is that it's definitely going to mean higher prices on goods, right? So, depending on what happens on the world stage, any one little lever that's pulled can impact prices at home. And while it might not be a big deal to you, or maybe you think it's not going to like really land home and hit the bottom line, you should know that your clients are probably already very cognizant of affordability and prices in general. This is really just a reminder that we need to control what we can control. And one thing that we need to control is the way that we are responding when clients bring these concerns to us. If there is more pressure on consumer spending, I just want to remind you that you should be very affirming to your clients when they bring those concerns to you. If the cost of living continues to go up, right, like appliances, tech, construction materials, to say the least, when it comes to housing, then some buyers who were already maybe feeling a little bit on the fence might really start to get cold feet again when they're worried about inflation or job instability. And on the flip side of that, sellers might hesitate to sell if they're worried about the affordability of furnishing a new home, or if they feel like their next purchase is going to end up being more of a lateral move and not the step up that they were initially imagining. I just want you to be thinking of this. And so, really, what I'm trying to say is remove whatever emotion you have about what's happening in the market today. Remove that emotion and make space for theirs. Because when you do have a client who's coming to you and you're getting an objection of, well, I would love to move, but I can't because of inflation or because of the prices or because of the economy, the worst thing that you can do in that moment is hit them with a that's not true because. If you initially invalidate their feelings when they are bringing an objection to you, then you are more or less shutting the door on any future conversation, because what that client is going to hear from you is that you don't take their concerns seriously and they are not going to trust you enough to be forthcoming with all of the information that they have in order to make a decision on whether or not they're going to move forward with a home purchase or a sale. So, look out for the possibility of higher prices hitting home and make space for your clients to feel through that pressure. Okay. The worst thing that you can be doing is deny, deny, deny when your clients are bringing these challenges to you, because you don't know what's really going on with them at home. You don't know what their pocketbook looks like. And so when they are bringing these concerns to you, your response should be, yes, I hear you. And here's what we're going to do about that. Then what you're doing is helping them navigate that process. You are recognizing their concerns on affordability, because that is a real concern for everybody. And you are going to help them constructively put the next steps in place to make their next home purchase or sale a win-win for them and everyone else involved. Okay, that kind of goes into like some objection handling and scripting. And by the way, if we need to have a future video on objection handling and scripting, happy to make one of those as well, because that has been something that we have been spending a lot of time working on in the Market Authority Academy. And I think I've got some good value to share there. But let's move on to the second point. And what I want to do is talk about new construction. So if we are looking to new construction in the next year or two, I really want to speak to those agents who have created a niche for themselves in new construction and who are really relying on new construction for their marketing. So if you are a real estate agent who really loves to do walkthrough videos on social media, or take marketing photos of these beautiful model homes with like all of the beautiful decor and it's all perfectly situated, you're the one who I'm speaking to here. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but anytime prices are going to hit the supply chain when it comes to new construction, we could see slowdowns in new build timing. And we also could see plans that were in place either get delayed or scrapped completely. Just make sure, here's your action item, make sure you're calling those new construction communities and seeing if anything is changing on their end, or if you should be expecting any delays or price increases. They may say, nope, we're all totally good. If so, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it, but it's worth checking. And if it's going to be something that you're like really marketing about, you should know a little bit about what you're talking about. Okay, moving on to the third point, I want to talk about the stock market. Now, does me being in real estate for 10 years make me at all qualified to talk about the stock market? No, definitely. Even though I do invest in stock, and even though I do have a background in finance, and even though I have weathered now several recessions as a millennial, I'm not like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know anything about finance and talk out the side of my mouth about stuff that's outside my scope. But what I do want to share is some anecdotal advice from experiences that I have had in real estate. So one that I can share is back to 2020. March 2020, we had a listing that was under contract. I promise I'll land this plane. This is a story that makes sense at the end. We had a listing that was under contract, and the buyer at the time was a single individual who was purchasing this home, and it was like a pretty hefty price point. So this was a big purchase for them, and their entire down payment at the time was in the stock market. And this individual who was purchasing this home kind of figured, once it's time to bring the down payment, I'll go ahead and like cash out of my investments in the stock and make sure that I transfer that money over. Now, us being the listing agents, obviously we weren't privy to a lot of those details, and it really honestly wouldn't matter in most cases. Anyways, COVID comes around, and I don't know if you guys remember, but like March 20th, when everything just absolutely nosedived, the stock market bottomed out. It was really wild. Lots of volatility once people really understood the ramifications of the pandemic. That buyer saw like 40% of what was going to be their down payment vanish instantly. And so obviously they got major cold feet and pulled out of the transaction. So that's just kind of to show you stuff like this, like weird stuff that you might not expect happens. Okay. So make sure that if you are working with buyers, you're having these conversations, or at least you have a little bit of a sense of what to expect from their down payments or their proceeds when it comes to their purchase. Also, make sure that you are working with a reputable lender as much as you can, right? Like if you are going to be referring any lenders to clients or partnering along with any lenders, make sure that that lender knows their stuff when it comes to financing, and that they are going to make sure to take the very best care of your clients and set them up for success in the case that we do continue to see stock market volatility. And also remember that anytime we do see stock market volatility, that is going to lead to a lot of interruptions in confidence. Okay. So if the market is going up and down like crazy, if that continues to happen as it has here in the last couple of weeks, then just prepare to really, really take it slow with your clients, really educate them, make sure they feel solid, make sure they feel confident, and be in their corner every step of the way. So, just a couple of quick tips here to kind of finish out this point. Remember, many buyers do pull money from investments to fund down payments, and especially even from their parents, right? So if you do have clients who are getting a down payment gifted to them from their parents, a lot of times that could be investments that they're liquidating from other places. So if their portfolios take a really big hit, then that may delay purchases altogether in some cases. The other thing that I'm going to mention is this also affects move up buyers or cash buyers, right? Who are watching the market closely in this instance. And finally, I would mention to agents who are working with clients in tech, finance, or other international markets, you're going to want to really stay sharp with them, right? So keep that communication open. These groups will feel turbulence early in the market. Likely, that's just what tends to happen in my experience. Okay, and the last thing that I'll leave you with here is number 4, uncertainty can equal buyer and seller paralysis. One thing I say all the time, chaos is just never good for business. It's just not. Market freakouts, even when they're temporary, can cause people who are making major financial decisions to pause, and that's only natural. I'll also remind you, if you do have a client who gets cold feet and decides to cancel their plans for purchasing, don't write them off completely. Make sure to stay in touch. If you do get that with a client where they're kind of looking for homes and maybe you've even written an offer for them already, just know that if they do end up saying, you know what, we're actually going to cancel our plans for now, that doesn't mean they're canceling forever. So make sure you're still checking in with them minimum every month. So those are just some practical, grounding, no nonsense tips just on how to navigate market uncertainty as a 10 plus year real estate agent with a background in finance who has been through a recession or two at this point. Just some anecdotal advice that I wanted to kind of share here on the channel. And if this is landing for you, and if you appreciate this, calm, grounding advice, would you let me know in the comments how this is landing for you? Or if you have any other questions about any tips that I have shared here today, let me know in the comments so I can see how this is resonating. I would really appreciate it. Okay, great job sticking with me through that video. It's so important to me that we have all of the same kind of information so that we can confidently navigate the market in the same way. So what I do want to share is a bonus script that you can use with your clients to calmly kind of guide them through. So if you need some starting language, or if you're not really sure where to start with messaging because it is so very important right now, here's what you're going to use. The headline here is basically that not all recessions hit housing the same way. In fact, 4 of the last 6 US recessions, home prices actually went up in the end, not down. So what you want to kind of convey to your client base is that it's totally normal to feel nervous when you hear about recessions or see scary headlines. Because remember, side note, this is from Stephanie, we are affirming their feelings here, right? Really important to acknowledge their feelings. But historically, most US recessions haven't caused home prices to completely crash. In fact, in 4 of the last 6 recessions, home values either stayed stable or continued to rise because real estate tends to be a long-term investment and a basic need. People are always buying and selling houses because people are always needing a place to live. The 2008 crash, if you're thinking of it, was the exception, not the rule. That was caused by a totally different set of factors like risky lending and massive oversupply that we're really not seeing in the same way today. So, how does that language feel, right? Just some calm, confidence language that you can include in social media marketing or even in conversations with clients that you may have when and if the question does come up. I think it's just better to be prepared rather than caught off guard anyway, right? And I think I'll conclude this video with this. Just a few last minute tips. Number one, I really want you to control what you can control. You cannot control macroeconomics. You cannot control the world economic environment, but you can control your systems, your outreach, and your marketing. So now is the time to really think about what you can be fixing or reinforcing to make sure that you are riding in a nice, stable ship through these rocky seas that we might be in. Also, remember that client relationships are your currency, okay? As buyers and sellers grow more cautious in the market, trust is going to become your most valuable asset. This is when we need to be showing up as advisors for our clients, as friendly guides, not just salespeople. And truly, 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 now is the time to double down, not disappear. Most agents will wait and see, but we can confidently take market share by showing up and stepping up with clarity, confidence, and connection. Hope that this video landed for you, and I hope that maybe this was a message that you needed to hear today. And if it was, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not yet. Those are really important key metrics that tell me whether or not this video is landing for you, and I'd really appreciate you supporting this channel. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep on crushing it.